Let's go. Okay, we are up to what we're going to do as the final share in the sugya of Moser, and the shaila that we're going to deal with is the very unfortunate shaila that could happen when somebody does something and he uses another yid as a scapegoat. And now the government, or even if he didn't beferish use the other yid as a scapegoat, but the government or whoever it is has an easier time going after the little guy. And they basically are blaming one person for the crime of another. Or based on the actions of one person, they are putting a different person in trouble. So the issue here is like this. Till now we were talking about Masira in the context of I'm coming out of the blue and I'm going to say, hey, this guy did something, right? The government wants some money, go get the money from there. So we said that that's usher. You lose your olam haba, you have to pay damages. The difference if it's ba'inus, it's biyadayim. Those are all the halachas we discussed. But this shaila is a much more chomer dika shaila, because here the person himself got himself into trouble because he caused it upon himself. So let's imagine you have an example that what? The shaila is basically when the person that you're being moser, the reason why, here's coming in. Yossi, we're repeating the shaila. We're going to repeat the shaila now. Listen carefully. The shaila is when the mesira that's happening is because you're trying to protect yourself from something that guy put you into the danger to begin with, right? Example. Someone
goes to the government to complain about this. You go back to the government.
No, let's say more than that. I have a business. This happened to someone here. And I have investors. The FBI, someone tracks some of the money from my investors is treifa geld. Is money from some trade. So they closed down my entire business, and they closed down my whole operation, and they want information from me. When did they give you the money? Who gave you that money? This is coming from these transfers. They can't pinpoint with the information they have anything about the original investor.
Don't want to get the big fish.
But they want to get the big fish, but they got you now. Why do they have you? I don't know why they have you. I don't know why they can more easily get you than the big guy. But the only way they're going to get to the big guy is through you. But the emes is that the big guy did it, not me. So I'm being put now in trouble because of him. So is there any difference in Mesira when the Mesira that you're doing is because the other guy is putting you into danger? It's his fault. You're just telling the government, it's not me, it's him. So in other words, are you allowed to do Mesira in such a case? Okay?
Whereas you didn't initiate it for your system.
You're not initiating it, and more than that, it's really, he's putting you into that matzav. It's really because he put you into that matzav. That's what we're talking about. You're going to get locked up, and the way you get not locked up is by telling them it's not me, it's him. Well, look, as far as we know, you have treifa geld, you have dirty money in your business. So we're putting you behind bars. No, I have dirty money. I got it from that guy. I didn't even know what that guy does. He just is an investor of mine. He gave me the money, and they tracked the deal. Go figure out from him where he got it from. Okay, so give us information. So you're going to make you're going to put the other guy behind bars. So you put the other guy behind bars to protect yourself from going behind bars for a crime that he taka did. This is the chomer dika shaila that we're talking about. Okay, this is the okay. So it's a very different shaila than what we discussed till now. Very chomerdika shaila. Okay? So here, there's papers over here. It could be jail, it could be life and death. It could be jail, it could be life and death.
White collar crime?
Whatever the case is, whatever the case may be. Whatever the case may be, okay? So again, the shaila is Masira in a case where you're protecting yourself from a crime that you're being blamed for when really someone else did it. And you want to be able to tell the government, it's not me, it's him.
Yeah, but if you don't tell the government, then he's going to get other people in trouble trying to launder his money now.
No, okay, so we already said that. That's correct. We already discussed that a few weeks ago in the halach of ziyufim. If there's somebody that's a forger, a guy that does forgeries, and the Gemara said, and we paskined already that shaila, that if he's a roidef, he's literally going to continue putting people in danger, then you're allowed to tell the government to protect other people. In this case, we're not talking about that anymore. The guy's already ran away. He's in China somewhere. He ran away. He's not around.
Well, he's not around, and he's not going to get punished for sure.
No, he's away because no one knows where he is. I know where he is. Right?
But they put some of your investors at risk.
He put a lot of people in trouble. But does that mean that we're allowed to save your copy? Does that mean that we're allowed to? Does that mean that we're allowed to be master the guy? Okay, the very unfortunate chomer de kashayla. The shayla we discussed when you're mastering someone that didn't do the crime. The guy that didn't do it, can he master on the guy that did it? Okay, so there are. Let's break it up into three cases. Two main cases. We'll break it up into two main cases, and break it down like that. The first category is when the guy who did the crime is actually chayiv al pi din Torah to pay the money that he's being accused of. So, for example, very simple, right? A guy. Let's say, for example, someone did tax fraud. They're going to come and get the accountant in trouble. So the accountant is like, I don't know, I just took the number, I just took the information I was given. I didn't realize, well, right now it's under your name, this tax case. You give us information, right? You give us information, we'll go after the other guy. I don't know if that's a good example, but just for argument's sake. So there, where the person that the accountant, the client that he's going to be mastering, is actually chayiv to pay that money, even if al pi din you are allowed to hafkas halva, you're not allowed to do hafkas halva, you have to pay. L'maisa, he owes the money. The yid owes the money to the taxes, and kipshuto he has to pay it also, believe it or not. So pshat is he owes the money and he has to pay the money, and he's trying to get away with avoiding to pay a chayiv that he has to pay. So then it's pashut that since he's putting you in danger, you're not mechuyev to go suffer to protect him from doing something he has to do anyway. So the Masira in that case is mutter. That's case number one. Case number one is when he's putting you in danger, but he's putting you in danger of something that he has to do, and therefore you're not mechuyev to protect him, to help him avoid a chayiv that he has to pay. Even though we paskin technically hafkas halva of a guy, maybe mutter, but paying taxes you're chayiv, and hafkas halva anyway. Even if it's mutter, but he owes the money. So therefore it's pashut in that case, everyone agrees that he's chayiv. Now, that would only be, like you said, pashtus limited to payment, right? Because al pi din Torah, once it's going to get into criminal, it's going to be hard to find a source that in din Torah, he's going to have to be mechuyev the criminal penalty sentence that they're going to put on him, that's shaykh to him in dinei Torah. But if you avoid criminal, if it's fines or it's payment, fines also is a little tricky. So there's going to be fines because he doesn't owe the fines. But if it's money that he owes, then you're allowed to master it. Second case. Let's say he does not owe it. The other case, which is the extreme, is that they're making stuff up. They're making stuff up, and they want you to help them. They want you to help them get the big guy. But the big guy also didn't do anything wrong. They're just getting it on a technicality or something, and they want to make the guy into a carbon. Right? But he really didn't do anything wrong. But they want the Rosh HaKol. Why do they want the Rosh HaKol? Because it's going to make a big splash, and it's going to make a big deal, and they want you to help get someone that really didn't do anything wrong. then it's Pashat, it's Aser. Because it's not his fault, it has nothing to do with him. And we're going to learn the Gemara that tells us that. But then it's Aser. So even though, because they want him, they're putting you in danger, but since he didn't do anything wrong either, so it's not his fault more than your fault. So even though the reason they're putting you in danger and they're harassing you is because they think through you they can get something on him, but he's also not really guilty, then you're not allowed to master that guy.
Well, how are you mastering him if he didn't do anything?
They can get him on a technicality or on something like this, whatever, but something everyone else is doing also. I don't know. It's nothing that really deserves whatever they're going to end up, right? Or what happens a lot of times, they'll get the guy, they'll go through 10 years of an FBI investigation, they're going to go make the guys, drive the guy nuts, they're going to make him close his business, and then, oh yeah, we made a mistake, sorry, it was someone, we're talking nothing here. And they knew that in the first place. So in that case, you're not allowed to be an assistant on that. Okay? And also, you're thinking in today's wonderful, just, moral, legal system that obviously they'll never do anything to anybody that's not guilty, right? But in olden days, that was not necessarily the case. They just do whatever they want to anybody.
Still today.
Thanks. Yeah, you said it, not me. Okay, so the case that's a huge machlokes between the Chazon Ish and the Bach, and obviously if it's a machlokes between the Chazon Ish and the Bach, there's a lot of other achronim in the ring also at this. But there's a major machlokes, and it's probably the most common case, which is when the person did a crime and he's going to get punished with the punishment that is paskin and an appropriate sentence, apidina de malchusa. He violated the law, and for violating the law, there is such and such consequence. However, apid din Torah, he didn't do anything wrong. There's no din Torah about this, and it's surely the sentence is not appropriate to what, according to din Torah, he's chayiv. B'chi hai gavna, are you allowed to be mastering him? And this is probably the most common case, right? They're accusing someone of a jail crime, of a crime that would be, subject.
Tax evasion.
Well, some sort of tax. Maybe you're chayiv. Well, you're saying not, but the punishment is not right, right? And some sort of federal offense, which is going to get a serious punishment, and apid din Torah, he doesn't deserve that punishment. So it's not just they're going to make him pay. If they make him pay and he deserves to pay, we discussed that already. So this is case number, we're calling it case number 3. I would say in the set it's really case number 2. That's the machlokes. Case number 1, when he's chayav even apid din Torah to pay, and he's putting you in danger, maser him. No problem. It's not kashmak, but you're allowed to. Case number 3, he's not chayav at all. He didn't do anything wrong. Even apid din de malchusa, really. It's just that they're trying to, so you can't give him in. It's not the case number 2, which is the middle case, where he didn't do anything wrong apid din Torah, but he did do something wrong apid din de malchusa, and because of what he did wrong, he's endangering you. Right? So mortgage stuff or fraud or any sort of things which it's not necessarily an avera al pi dinei Torah, and the punishment, the consequence is more. What do you do in such a case? So this is a machlokes between the Bach and the Chazon Ish, like I said, and I gave you the tshuva in the Bach. Beautiful tshuva. By the way, this is printed by Zichron Aaron, of our friend Rabbi Blyer. Yeah. This is in the Tshuvas HaBach. You try to read the old Tshuvas HaBach, you wouldn't make it through the first 5 sentences. Yeah, it's a beautiful print. So, Tshuva Mem Gimel in the Bach. Here's the Shaila. Al Dvar Alilois Sheker Shehe'alilu Be'ir Kalish. There's a city called Kalish. Al Yehudi Echad B'Dvar Pesel Shalahem V'Tafsu. Apparently, there was a guy that that did some sort of offense regarding their avodah zarah. What was the offense? It seems like he stole some sort of avodah zarah from a public place. When I was growing up, there was a yid, there was Rabbi Dickstein, I don't know if he's related to you. So, what? No. So anyway, he's a big Talmid Chacham, and he was in the hospital. The name of the hospital was Holy Cross Hospital. So he's in the hospital, and he was uncomfortable that there was a cross on the wall, and he wants to daven, so he goes up to the wall, takes it off, so he can start davening. And as he's taking it off, the nurse walks in. She says, "Rabbi, I'm sorry, but you can't have that." so the apparently this guy was being accused of stealing some sort of pesel, of stealing avodah zarah. So he says, "B'devar pesel shalem v'tafsu." Elamaisa, based on the crime that this person did, he was chayv misa. Okay. Lamaisa, they had him, and he was being in the middle of the city. And he died, and he was killed. They grabbed the guy, they took him in front of everybody. Now, Lamaisa, he had it, apparently. He had his wallet with him, he had some sort of bag with him as he was being grabbed out of his house. And as he's being grabbed in front of out of the house, what happened? Basically what happened was, on his way out, as he's being taken, he took the bag and he gave it over to another guy in the community, and that guy ran. Now, they finish with this guy. The government finishes killing the first guy, and then they come back to the community and they're like, okay, so give it back to us now. In the meantime, what happened? There was another guy that was there at the time, and he took it from the first guy, and he ran. But they don't know who had it now. So they basically, what they say, you better give it back to us now, and if you don't give it back to us now, we are going to take some sort of retribution from the entire community, from the Rosh Hakol. The case is clear? So the first person who stole it got killed. The second guy was the guy to Minaganev, whatever. He took it from the first person in front of the whole, it was a public, he took it, ran, and they don't know who took it. It was a whole scene, a Bahala, a lot of people there. He took it and ran. They didn't want to give it back to them for whatever reason. The bottom line, v'nitman Yehudi if they bring the second Ganev, or the second person, Lemishpat, Shema Chas V'Sholom, Yaviyu Lidei Inuyim Shaloi Kifi Adin. They're going to punish him more than what he deserves. V'chasher also b'psak zeh shepasku al hakol. Kilfi daseim v'nimuseim lo yischayvu hakol lemishpat. V'kiven dera'inu sha'oisen kifi ritzoyinam shaloi kedas ika sakanas nefashos. What do we do? There's a possibility of sakanas nefashos on the second person. But the entire community is going to suffer if we don't give him in. So the Bach brings in famous Yerushalmi. But let's go just through the basics of the Yerushalmi. There's a Mishnah, Soif Shaninu Soif Parak Ches, the Mesechtes Trumas. V'chein Nashim Sha'amru Lahem Goyim. What if a Goyim come to a community and they say to a group of women, give us one of you, and we will take one, and if not, we are going to go and violate all the women. We're going to take everybody. So they say they shouldn't give in one, even at the expense of them going and taking all of them. Yerushalmi adds that's about a case of arayas, of znos. They want to go be ma'anis, the woman. What about in a case of life and death? So Yerushalmi l'shom hachi sias b'nei adam. There is a group of people, goyim. Jews were walking. Upagu lam goyim v'amru. Tina lanu echad mikem v'naharoi goysai. Give us one person and we'll kill him. V'imlav harei anu hargim es kulchem. If not, we're going to kill the group. Hand over one person, and if you don't hand over one person, we're going to kill the entire group. Afilu kulam neragim, even if the whole group will get killed, eina moisrim nefesh achos misro, we cannot be involved in handing over one yid. And therefore we have to just be passive, shev val taseh, because ritzicha is from the three averes chamuris of yehareg val yavar, and nothing we can do about it. So we just sit there. However, here's the knech, yichtu lahem echad. If they specifically said, hey, we want you, we want Ruvain. There's a group of 20 people. They come and say, we want Ruvain. And if you don't give us Ruvain, then we're going to kill the whole group. Since at that point it's Reuven is the one that's putting the rest of the group in danger, says the Gemara, you're allowed to give over Reuven to protect the other 19 people, because they specifically asked for Reuven. However, says the Yushalmi, it has to be like Sheva ben Bichri. So the Gemara wants to know, Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, what's the Yushalmi saying? It's like Sheva ben Bichri. What do you want with that mashal? So Amar Reish Lakish, v'hu shechayev misa k'Sheva ben Bichri. Rabbi Yochanan says, Ava b'she'enu chayev misa k'Sheva ben Bichri. So there's a machlokes here. Reish Lakish says that it's only permitted to give over Reuven if Reuven is actually chayev misa. If Reuven is chayev misa, so he did something wrong, and they actually want to go ahead and punish Reuven for what he did wrong, you're allowed to give Reuven. But if Reuven's not chayev misa, they happen to come and pick him for whatever reason, then it's chazer the din that you're not allowed to give him over. The din goes back to the regular din that you're not allowed to give him over. So now, how do we paskin? There's a whole arichas avis here in the Bach, and this is a Tosefta, but bottom line is, how do we paskin? Do we paskin like Rabbi Yochanan or Reish Lakish? Does he have to be chayiv misa, or even if he's not chayiv misa? So b'derech klal we paskin like Reish Lakish versus Rabbi Yochanan. No. Derech klal, Rabbi Yochanan, except for the 3 cases over there. But there's a Rambam. The Rambam paskin is like Reish Lakish in this case. The question why? Halacha Rabbi Yochanan. I am. If you go in the bottom corner paragraph, Achin Rambam Parakei Mehilchas, Yisod Atara Pasuk Biyechdu Im Hu Mechuyev Misa K'Sheva Ben Bichri Yitnu Yisod Lahem Ve'ein Morin Lahem Kein Lechatchila. So the Rambam says 2 things. V'im Eino Chayiv Misa Yargu Kulam V'al Yimasu Nefesh Achim Misa. So the Rambam, in order to be allowed to give over somebody, he has to be a Yechdu, it has to be that the Goyim asked for him, and it has to be that he's Chayiv Misa. If they ask for him and he's chayiv misa, then they can give him over, otherwise not. And even then, the Rambam says, "V'ein morin kein lechatchila." So the Bach is bothered, but why can't you do this lechatchila? When lechatchila? No one's lechatchila right now. I mean, the goyim are here. So he says it's a bad siman min hashamayim, and he brings the whole Yerushalmi there with Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi that it's actually interesting. The next page, you have the page Tzadi Daled there. Yeah, Hagois. Yeah, so the next page is Hagois Maimoni, right? There's an underline there, the column. Yeah. So the Hagois Maimoni is coming to explain why is it not lechatchila? What's not lechatchila about it? But before we get to that, so just the halacha is, according to the Rambam, that you're only allowed to give someone over who's chayiv misa, and the goyim ask for him. So the goyim are asking for him, and he's chayiv misa. Hagois allowed to give it over. Zokta Hagois Maimoni. Why is this not lechatchila?
Whether or not we could give him over, would that be the same whether he could give himself over? I mean, if we're not allowed to give him over, then is he not allowed to come forward himself? Is that the same thing or 2 different things? In this case over here, we're saying we're not allowed to give him up. Would he be allowed to, or any of the cases where they said any woman or all of them, or one person will kill him, will one person be able to say, "Oh, take me"?
So in the case where they're not asking for anyone specific, not, if they're asking for someone specific and he's not chayiv misa, so is he allowed?
What if the person's chayiv misa but they're not asking for it?
No, it has to be yichdu and chayiv misa.
Also, in our case, they don't know who took it. Is that a difference when they're saying, "Give me Reuven," or they're saying, "Find us the guy that took it, we want him"?
Yeah, so the Bach is going to say it's the same. It's a good question. I would say that he's not allowed to give himself over either, but I don't know. Hagois Maimoni, Nira de Maram, Hevi Raya Lepsaka Rambam, Dalacha Karish Lakish, Me'uvda D'isa B'Yushalmi, Ula ben Keshev, Tava'ate Malchusa. There was a person, Ula ben Keshev, the Malchus wanted him. Arak, he ran away. V'ozele lelud legabi Rabbi Shua ben Levi. He went to Rabbi Shua ben Levi's home. Atun v'akfin medinta. Now everyone came and they came surrounding the Medina, looking for this guy. Amrin lohin, in les atun yahavin lei lan. If you do not give him to us, anan macharivin medinta, we will destroy your city. Solik gabe Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Rabbi Shua ben Levi went out. Upaisu v'yahavilei, and Rabbi Shua ben Levi gave over the guy. So this guy came from another city, and he was hiding out in Rishon ben Levi's basement. The city, they came to find him, and Rishon ben Levi gave him over. V'hine Eliyahu zal yalef misgali iluyei v'loy izgali. Rishon ben Levi had a chavrusa shaft with Eliyahu Hanavi on a daily basis, and all of a sudden he doesn't come. Eliyahu Hanavi didn't come. I mean, somebody didn't get caught up in the coffee room, so they're trying to figure out what happened to Eliyahu Hanavi. After for a couple of days, V'izgali, and then Eliyahu Hanavi came back to Levi. Rishon ben Levi. Amar loy ulam. Eliyahu Hanavi says, "What do you want from me? I should come to a Moser? Of course I'm not showing up to learn with you. You're a Moser." Amar lei v'lav Mishnah sisi. What are you talking about? I did an open Mishnah on Trumas. I did a Mishnah on Trumas with the Yerushalmi. That this guy was putting the whole city in danger, and they wanted him, and I saved him. What do you want from me? I gave him over. Amar lei v'zu Mishnahs chasidim he. You followed a Mishnah. Eliyahu Hanavi doesn't come to every guy that follows Mishnayos. It's not Mishnah's Chasidim. So the question is, what was the problem here? So the Goy's Mamini wants to say, well, because this person that ran away wasn't Chayv Misa really, and therefore, obviously, Rishon ben Levi didn't Avera. So if he didn't Avera, must be passing like Reish Lakish. He can only give someone over as Chayv Misa. Zok Tabachna has no Shaykhis, because it's not a question of Mishras Chasidim, not Mishras Chasidim then he's Tamazoi Taka Meiser. It sounds like, no, Zaktabach, the Ovada we paskin, the guy was Chayv Misa, we paskin like Reb Shakish, and you're allowed to give him over. But, Lav Mishras Chasidim just means, to a real chassid, Hashem wouldn't have made this happen. You're right, you did the right thing. But it has to be that the guy came to your house, and you have to be the guy that gives it over. If you were in Taka such a darga of Gilui Eliyahu, Hashem wouldn't have made it that the guy had to run to your basement and you have to be the one giving. It's not a nice thing that you are the one that gave him over. So I'm mechuyev to come do Gilui Eliyahu to a guy, to somebody who, even though it wasn't his fault, gave over someone to the goyim. So that's how he wants to. So that's how the Bach learns Yerushalmi. That's what the Rambam means. It's not lechatchila. What do you mean it's not lechatchila? The whole city's in danger, and the goyim are coming. Lechatchila, you're calling the goyim. I mean, what does Rambam mean, Bachlal? It's not lechatchila. It's b'diavad, obviously. The goyim are here, and no one wants to give over anybody to. It means it's not lechatchila. Means this thing. It means it's not Mishras Chasidim that you should go look for this type of thing. Don't be the guy, Mr. Hero, that, I'm saving the whole city. No, you shouldn't be the guy saving the whole city at the expense of killing another yid. Before you kill people, make sure we know what we're doing, right? So that's how the Bach learns. Okay, it's a fascinating Indian over here. But Al Koponim, Zokt the Bach. Go to the next column in the Bach. Unbelievable what he says here. He says, Ume ata, navoy lenida in didan. Based on everything I taught you, now let's go to our psak. Mevor, ki nira mevor, ki kol mashem avakshim hama'alilim min akal, kishemiyachdim leploini, v'oimim tein lanu oisai. Give us the guy who stole the getchka, whatever. V'nase boy kach v'kach. Oy atem tichnesu lo'inish zeh. Bein she'oisa she'ela hi she'elas hariga, bein she'elas yisurim, v'oinshim she'enam shal misa. Oy she'ela mamen bavad. Hine, im oisa Yehudi chayiv b'kach. If the yid that they're asking for is chayiv, ayidei ma'asav she'osa keneged hagoyim, because he did something, for lack of a better word, he did something dumb against the goyim. They're sitting here taking a guy to death for stealing the avodah zarah. Now the guy on the way to death row says, "Hey, now you take it." I mean, why would you do that? You know that they're not happy with this thing. They're killing the guy, and he got killed. And now they're upset at the whole community. Now you're saying, "Oh, but I'm going to be the hero and weiter hide it." So he says, "You did something against the goyim. That's the line of the Bach. the person was government to himself. We are not mechuyev to go ahead and save him at our own expense. The guy took the thing in front of the goyim. However he got it. לקבל הכיס בפני הגויים, מאויסה היהודי שנסעללו עליו, ולא חשש שמא גם עליו יעלילו. He didn't think that maybe they're going to come after him also. אם כן, הוא גופי מוסר עצמו לסכנה זו. He put himself into that danger by accepting the package. שיגזרו עליו שיעמוד למשפט בדיניהם על דבר הכיס שקיבל, ולכן רשוין אנחנו למויסרי אויסה בידיהם למשפט. We are allowed to give him over. The Bach Paskins, in this case, to protect the city, they're allowed to give him over. If they kill him, he deserves it. Now, what do you mean he deserves it? Why do you deserve it? Go find me a pasuk in the Chumash that says if you steal an avodah zarah from someone, you're chayiv misa. Yaakov Avinu and Rachel did it, right? So, find me a pasuk that says that if you steal an avodah zarah from a guy, you're chayiv misa. What does he mean? He's chayiv. He means that he did something against the government, and the government thinks that this is the appropriate punishment, and frankly, from their perspective, maybe it makes sense. So he's chayiv, he did it to himself. And since he deserves the punishment from himself, ein anachnu chayavim b'damav el damav b'rosh of the garment l'nafshei.
We're saying that we did about Rishon Levi also, that he was chayiv misa before he came into the
V'afa pida Rambam kasav de'in morin kin l'chatchila. Either Rambam says not to do it l'chatchila. That's when they want to kill him beferish, like the story of Yeshua ben Levi. It's not Mishnah's Chasidim to go be the hero and kill the other guy. But here we don't know if they're going to kill him. We just know that they're going to put him, they're going to be maimed him b'mishpat. We don't know what the sentence will be, and therefore, since it's not for sure that they're going to kill him, it's not even a lack of Mishnah's Chasidim. So it sounds like he holds it's not even a lack of Mishnah's Chasidim if they're not going to for sure kill the guy. So according to this Bach, somebody that did something which was basically illegal, and he had no right to do it, and whatever punishment he's going to get, he deserves al-pi dina de malchusa, and when he thinks he's going to be the groisa chacham that doesn't get caught, right? L'maisa, if he's putting other people in danger, the people are allowed to say he's the guy that did it, according to the Bach.
Even if everyone's doing it.
What?
Even if everyone's doing it.
Well, then it goes to the last case. If he's just a scapegoat and he's not really chayiv that punishment. Oh, now the case of what everyone's doing is like this. So comes the Chazon Ish, which is at the end of the pamphlet. The Chazon Ish has an entire siman on this Yerushalmi. This Yerushalmi with the Sheva ben Bichri and that whole story. He says, I wrote a whole Shtekot Torah. Koisvi, after I wrote the Shtekot Torah, Hisakti Tshuvas Habach. I got a hold of this Tshuvas Habach. V'shom b'simen mem gimel haya hanidoin, they have shehalila Yehudi echad. He brings the case. Now, next paragraph. V'habach sham pirish, hadetanya b'toisefta, amar mishur b'mishur b'mifnim b'chutz tzaloymar, hadein moisrim b'chayiv misa hu, kishe'enam b'sakana, v'kashe'en b'sakana v'yichtu v'chayiv misa moisrin oisai. If that's the Bach's psak. If everyone is in danger and they want someone specific, and that person specific is chayiv, you can give it over. Okay. Go to the next page. Harayesh lumoid the dafka chayiv misa b'dinei Torah k'sheva ben birchi demar b'malchei bezdin. Ma inyan chiyuv b'dineim lakan, says the Chazon Ish, when we say that we pass on Krish Lakish, that you can only give someone over who's chayiv misa, it has to be that he's chayiv misa b'dinei Torah. But if he's chayiv misa according to the government, ma inyan chiyuv b'dineim kan. What do I care that the guy's chayiv according to the legal system? he could get away, but it's his fault. Tamua Moed, what means his fault? They make stuff up, these people. So they made a lot of time. My father was involved in a case that basically, it actually wasn't here, but and basically the day before the case, it was a very big case. It was in Israel, and the day before the case, it was regarding the biggest holding company in the country, a multi-billion-dollar company, and the day before the case, they passed a law that would determine they passed a law specifically for this case, basically.
Typical for Israel.
Right, this is what I'm saying. So they passed a law. Basically, my father was representing an investor from outside the country, and they said that someone from outside the country has such and such schuyos that someone from the country could buy him out and make him go bankrupt or whatever. They passed a law, and then the next day was the case. So, Zok the Chazon Ish, people make stuff up. So because that's the law, now all of a sudden you're going to give the guy over? It has to be that it's oiskalt on apidine Torah. That's the Chazon Ish's shita. Apidine Torah, the person has to deserve this punishment. So now, this is the most common case, because very rarely does the sentence apid halacha match up with the sentence, the legal sentence. It sounds like the consequence has to match. So it's kimat not shayach to do it. So now you have a bach versus a Chazon Ish. Now you're back to our klal, of Moshe's klal that we started this whole sugya with. A suffik on mesira, suffik olam haba l'chumra. Right? It's not so pashut over here what to do. Now maybe you'll say, well, I'm saving. If I don't do it and I'm allowed to, I'm putting everyone else in danger. So that's what we have gedolim for, and you gotta know what to do. But based on what we know, that makes sense why Chaim Kanievsky paskin like the Chazon Ish in that case. Right? So I did see in this sefer he wants to make a nice pshara between the Bach and the Chazon Ish. So right now again we have three categories. We have a case where the person who's putting everyone else in danger is chayv al pi din Torah. We're saying that's pashut that you're chayv. Then we have the case where the person who's putting the people in danger is completely potter, he didn't do anything wrong really, he's just being used as a scapegoat. That you're not allowed to be moser at all. Then you have the middle case where the person who's chayiv, the person is chayiv apidin to malchusa, but he's not chayiv apidin Torah. That's the machlokes between the Bach and the Chazon Ish, if you're allowed to give him over. Zok the Sefer Mishpat HaMazek, it's a yid in Kiryat Sefer. He wants to say Geshmak Pshara between the two, and he has about 10 pages to prove it. But basically, he wants to say that the Pshara is, what was the kavanah of the person when he did it? If the kavanah of the person to do it, no, he knew he was going to get caught, and he knew that they were going to come after him, and he knew everything, and he specifically put this guy in his stead, so that when they come after him, which they will, and they're going to give him this thing, they're specifically going to go after this guy instead of him. So then he's a flat out roidif, and he was mechavin, basically lahedja, to put this other guy in danger, so the other guy is not mechuyev to go and hashim lahargai. But if that wasn't his intention, he's running his business, and the Maisa, like this case we said with the maybe that's not, I don't know actually over there. But let's assume the case of the investor. I don't know, I'm running the business, the other guy has his business, he's doing all these deals. He's not trying to specifically hide his money with me and get me in trouble, or get the real estate guy in trouble. He bought some real estate with his dirty money, and he wasn't looking for a place to hide his money and get other people in trouble. So then that's where the Chazon Ish would say it's a problem. So according to that, I think it's a very understandable pshara, that even according to the Chazon Ish, but if you have a guy, let's see, like we said before, he has this dirty money, he has this illegal drug money, whatever, and then he needs a place to put it, and so he figures out a way to get an all cash deal, and then all of a sudden now it's not, if they ever locate the money, it's over there in that deal. I don't have it, and he knows all that, and he knows that they're going to come after that person, and he specifically put the other person in trouble. Then he would be allowed. to give him over. But if that wasn't the case, then there would be the Machlokas Chazon Ish and the Bach, and asking on them Gadol, what to do in that case. But that's pretty much would be the setup.
Also the same case. He was already chayiv misa by the time he went hiding. He went hiding as somebody was ready that he was chayiv misa. So when he came into the city, he was already at that point.
You see, why is it lack of Mishnah's Chassidim?
Why is it? Yeah, it should be that he's already at that point.
No, according to the Bach's touch of that Gemara, it's not a kasha. The Bach is just saying the lack of Mishnah's Chassidim is because why did it have to be you?
Okay.
Hashem should have put him in someone else's basement. There's plenty of people that would not mind being the guy, that saved the community at the expense of someone else. All right? Didn't have to be Rabbi Shul ben Levi. That's the Bach saying. Okay, so that's the setup over here of the sugya. I think at this point, any sugya that we're going to learn is going to be less interesting than this. But this is unbelievable in Yanim over in Shin Peches. So like this. So the schedule is going to be that next week, Rav Dov Khan is coming, Mitzvah Shem, who's the Av Bezdin of the whole Chosh Mishpat and everything we're learning. So we'll have a chus to hear a share from him. I asked him to give on Moser, but he has something else he wants to speak about. So a little more of an edel topic. What? Right. So it's Chosh Mishpat topic. So the Sunday morning share we'll learn with Rav Dov next Sunday. After that, I want to give one more shir on a subject that Rabbi Silver touched on earlier in the Zman, which is Shin Pei Zayin, which is how to evaluate nezek. Do you pay for the repair? Do you pay for the damage? Go through the sources on that. It's going to be one more week, maybe two, and that probably will take us to winter break. After that, we're going to start a new sugya, and like I said, when we start the new sugya, we're going to see if we have opportunity to maybe get chabur of people together and want to learn them, spend a little more time learning the sources. We're going to try to put we've had in the past on Shabbos, different times, to learn the sugyas a little bit more in preparation. So, Mr. Shem, that's going to be the next few weeks. Okay, Shkaya.
There was a case several years ago in Muncie that made a lot of news about a mashgiach who, or someone who had the keys and was able to put in
Right.
trade for stuff in. It was very well known. What happened to that case?
No, it's not the case.
A lot of people have to do a lot of tshuva. I don't know exactly what happened.
No, it's not the case where the owner sold trades.
And